Hello, my name's Nicola Brown and I'm from Canine Angel and Natural Fulvic Vitality. I'm here today making this short video to explain my journey and my experience in how I quit my addictions to cigarettes and alcohol for good using bioresonance therapy. So hello and welcome to my channel. I wanted to make this video today because cigarettes and alcohol are two products or substances that are distributed all over the world, very encased in society, and are legal substances that we know cause, severe health problems, severe mental problems, break down relationships, cause all sorts of things, including death. So it's they're quite serious substances, and yet so many of society are addicted to these two substances, and myself included. I was addicted to these substances for 20 or so years. So I had a journey with these two substances, trying to get them out of my life, trying to quit them, trying to give up, and found it really, really difficult. And anybody that I know really that's been addicted to smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol has these same issues. Okay, there are some people out there I know who have just given up cold turkey like that and seem to have got on with their life and just said, oh yeah, I just quit one day and just didn't do it. So there are people out there that can do that, but the majority of people I know that are trying to I'm trying to give up, I've done really well, I haven't had a cigarette this week, and they give up for a little while and then they go back to it. So it can be quite a frustrating journey, and it was for me, and I want to share my journey with you today because there might be some little nuggets of information in there that may help somebody. And I'm always, if I can inspire one person with my videos or my content, then my job is done. So please do sit back and enjoy my story, and see what you get out of it. So let's go back right to the beginning, when cigarettes and alcohol first came into my life. I was 14 when smoking came, I had my first cigarette. Now, my mother and my stepfather were big smokers, so right throughout my life, even when I was born, cigarettes were a big part of my life, and drinking. They were just around me, it was part of my family life, and I didn't know any different. But I never resonated to it, never really wanted it. In fact, I was always trying to say to my mum, give it up, it's bad for you. And I even knew it was bad for you, I could tell. And yet at 14, when you start becoming curious of the world and you're with your friends and they start smoking, it becomes one of those things that is almost perceived as a grown-up thing to do. So, and I was just curious really. I was like, well, what is the big deal about all of this? Let's try one. So yes, at 14 I remember getting a cigarette out of the ashtray. It was half smoked, my mum had put it out, and I took my first ever puff of the cigarette, and I was like, oh, that's disgusting. Coughing, but something happened, something very powerful happened, and as soon as that nicotine entered my body, I was hooked. And what I noticed was 20 minutes after having this cigarette, I found myself wanting another one. My brain was like, and it was thinking about, I want a cigarette, and that was it. Just that one cigarette hooked me. Drinking was very much the same, came into my life when I was 15. I had my first drink, and I actually, excuse me, I actually came home from school one lunchtime with my friend. My mum was out. And again, up to this point, we'd had drink in the house and alcohol in the house, and it had never really bothered me. I hadn't thought of anything, I knew it was an adult thing to do. It's an adult product, and my mum was always like, when you're old enough, you can have a drink. Well, this particular day, it was almost like the spirit of the alcohol jumped out the bottle and was like, try me, come on girls, try me. And I remember saying to my friend, I was like, should we have a drink? I was like, do you fancy a drink? And my friend didn't say, oh no. she was like, oh yes, oh yeah, let's do it. So, you know, it was quite an exciting thing to do. It was like, oh, naughty and sneaky and like, oh, this is exciting. So I got quite a bit of a buzz from the first time that we, you know, some alcohol really passed my lips. So yes, I remember pouring out, it was gin, and got the gin bottle and poured some in 2 glasses and topped it with lemonade and gave it to my friend, and we swigged it back and we were like, oh. I remember it tasting like perfume. I was like, oh, it's not very nice. Again, I didn't really like it, but thought, oh well, I've done it. And I remember filling the gin bottle up with water back up to the level of where it has been, you know, so Mum wouldn't know. I mean, how many of us have done that? Anyway, I went back to school, and I remember went into my science class, and I was really quite drunk. Actually, the alcohol hit me on the way back to school, and I was giggling with my friend and that, and got into the lesson giggling away, and I just like passed out and fell off my stool in my science class. And I remember one of the boys going, sir, she's drunk, sir. And the teacher came over and like offered his hand and pulled me up, and he said, are you all right, Miss Brown? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And he said, are you drunk? And I was like, no, sir, no, not me. I don't know, I just fell off my stool. I just know all the kids are laughing and everything, so yeah, I kind of got away with it. But yeah, that was my first experience of drinking. Then from there onwards, you know, drink was just around and part of my life, and I was going to parties, and then I started going out to the pub scene, 17, 18. And then all through my 20s, smoking, drinking, it was just part of my life, part of my work culture. You know, I was in sales and marketing, and we'd all meet up afterwards and go for a drink and a smoke, and it was just what everybody did, and you know, just what I did, and that was that really. And I don't regret any of my life. I had an absolute amazing time during my 20s, had a really a good time, and really enjoyed myself. So, you know, no looking back and regrets. But when I got to about 28, I was getting all these recurring chest infections, and I was having to have time off work, and tonsillitis was starting to flare up again, and I was having difficulty breathing. And so yeah, I decided that it was time that I quit smoking, and had no idea how I was going to do that, because every time I tried, you know, I'd last a few hours, to be honest, and then I'd just want another cigarette and I'd have another one. Excuse me. So yeah, I was going off to see my father at 28. He lives in New Zealand, and as a small child we all moved out to New Zealand, and my father stayed out there and we came back, and I hadn't been out there for 25 years, so I wanted to make a trip to go over and see my father and travel New Zealand and have the adventure of my lifetime. And I thought, this is the perfect opportunity to give up smoking. And this is a little tip I'll give to anybody who is trying to give up smoking, you know. If you can get into an environment where it's different to your normal, habitual, daily environment, if you're going on holiday or you're going to stay with friends or you're starting a new job or relocating or something, this is actually a really good time to start quitting your addictions, because you're breaking a pattern anyway and you've got more chance of success. You know, I'm always about setting myself up for success, whatever I do. I put a lot of planning and organisation into anything that I do because I want it to be successful. So I decided to go to the doctor and go to the nurse, see the nurse, and get on the patches for the nicotine replacement therapy, because that's all I knew was the only option available really to giving up smoking at that time. And so yes, I got the patches, put them on, did the long plane journey to New Zealand, got to New Zealand. I remember I had 5 cigarettes left in my packet, and I smoked one, and I remember putting it out in the ashtray in the airport, and I said, that's my last one, you know, that's it, I'm not going to smoke anymore. And what was lovely was my father's house, and my father was a non-smoker. It was a non-smoking environment I was going into, so again, setting myself up for success. And my father was really supportive. He knew I was trying to give up smoking, and he said, look, every time you don't have a cigarette, I'm going to give you a hug. And, you know, I hadn't had a lot of hugs off my dad in my lifetime, and they were very valuable to me. They became more valuable than the cigarettes, actually. So every time I'd go up to him and say, I haven't had a hug, and sorry, I haven't had a cigarette, and he'd give me a hug. And it was just a really lovely, supportive way. So again, it's another tip there while you're trying to give up, is to get your friends and family to support you. Set rewards for yourself. Set something of a higher value than a cigarette. And it's not hard to find, right? Because there is no value in cigarettes, really. So yeah, get yourself something of higher value, and every time you don't have a cigarette, have that, you know, but make it a healthy substitute, if you like a hug, or, you know, perhaps you can give yourself a star or something, and by the time you've collected 10 stars, you can go and buy yourself something nice with the money that you've saved not smoking. So yes, at the end of that month, I came back from New Zealand, arrived back in the UK, and I hadn't had a cigarette, and I was so proud of myself. And the thing was I was very addicted to the patches at this point, and obviously needed to now come off the patches. So the nurse set me on a programme to start reducing my dosage, and then when she actually said, oh, no, this is your last box, and I remember cutting up each patch into 4 so that it lasted me a lot longer. I was that addicted to them, to the nicotine still. I wasn't smoking anymore, but yes, the nicotine was still very much in my system. So yeah, I remember actually getting to my last patch and feeling quite anxious, actually, like, what am I going to do without my nicotine, you know? I knew I had to face the cold turkey. I've just been prolonging it. And this is why I do not suggest doing nicotine replacement therapy, because I don't really know it ever working. Everybody who's ever tried it has gone back on to it. If it has worked for you, please do leave a little comment in the comments, because it's all good to share these things with everyone. If you have been successful of nicotine therapy, replacement therapy, please do let me know. But I really don't know anybody who has. They've given up for a while and then they've gone back to it, and they're still craving cigarettes. So that obviously includes the vapes as well, because that's just nicotine replacement therapy as well. So, you know, I don't really see anybody who's given up the addiction to nicotine if they're still on the vapes. So yes, to come off these things, I knew I was going to have to go through a bit of cold turkey, but I didn't realise how bad it was going to be. And I remember one morning I woke up and the craving, this was 2 or 3 days not having a patch on, the craving for a cigarette was the biggest craving I've ever had in my life. And it was like the nicotine monster came out and was again, come on, just have one, you know you want one, come on, just have one, it'll be fine, you know, you'll have it and you'll make it feel better and you'll stop all this anxiety. And it was really trying to talk me into almost having a cigarette. My brain, this nicotine monster in my brain, if you like. And I was so determined not to, that I shut myself in the bathroom and I thought, I'll stay in here until this craving's passed. And I got in the shower and it was horrendous. I went through 6 hours in that bathroom, and I literally was on the floor of that bathroom screaming and crying and wanting to pull my skin off. It was like such a big purge, it was such a big battle, but I was so determined. I literally locked myself in this bathroom and said, I'm not coming out until I'm calm and don't want a cigarette. And so it was 6 hours. And I eventually got out, and I felt really empowered at that point, because I knew I'd overcome something that I'd never overcome in my life before. I'd overcome that craving, you know. But the thing was I still craved cigarettes. The craving never left. And I actually gave up for 5 years, and in that 5 years, another tip I'll give you is to start yoga, or start some breathing practice and exercise, because you need to heal your lungs. After you've done all that damage to them for all those years, you need to start breathing properly again and healing your lungs. There's lung cleansing herbs. I mean, again, write to me if you want to know about these kind of things, lung cleansing herbs and cleansing protocols you can do without the bioresonance. But you know, at the time I wish I'd known about bioresonance at this time, but it hadn't come into my life by then, so I just literally went cold turkey. But yes, I started yoga, and that really, really did help me not to go back to smoking for those 5-6 years that I gave up. Now in my later 30s, I had an incident that was very stressful and very traumatic, and I unfortunately lost a baby through miscarriage, and it floored me, as you know, these kind of things do in life. And at that point I just still was wanting cigarettes, but obviously the willpower had stopped me having them for 6 years. Well, my willpower was just very low, everything was very low ebb at that stage in my life, and I just thought, I want a cigarette. And I went out and I bought a packet of tobacco and some Rizzlers and rolled myself a little rollie and smoked it, and it was almost just like, oh, you know, 6 years, and it was like, oh, I was like having an old friend, the old monster friend back in my body, you know. I was very lightheaded. It was almost like having my first cigarette. And there again, I was back on it. Now granted, I didn't go back to 20 or 30 or 40 a day like I was on before, but I was, you know, I was rolling about 3 or 4, so I was still addicted and still wanting, and, you know, still back. And I was quite disappointed with myself, really. Anyways, what happened then next in my life is I met a guy, and he was a pub landlord, and I ended up starting a relationship with him and moved into the pub, and suddenly was in this environment of drinking and smoking 7 days a week. And yeah, everything at that point in my life broke down. It was a very toxic relationship, toxic stuff. And I had a lot of friends, I had social life, and I had my entertainment. We had a big live music scene. It was great fun in one respect, but yeah, I really, really at that point, my body, my mind, my soul had had enough. So I made a really big decision in my life, probably the biggest decision I've ever made, and that was like, I've got to get this toxicity out of my life once and for all. I'm done. I was done with it. So I ended that relationship, came out of that environment, and I quit. I focused on quitting smoking, quitting drinking, and quitting toxic relationships in my life. They were the 3 things that needed to go. And at that time, Bioresonance came into my life. So now how Bioresonance works, well, I've got other videos on my channel. I'm not going to go into it full detail here because I want to keep the video to a reasonable length. But we basically take a hair sample, we put it through a very sophisticated scanner, and what it will do is it will identify everything that's going on in your system. And one of the categories, we've got over 250 categories, one of the categories is poisons and toxins. And I had my first scan and balance done, and it came up in my poison and toxic category, poison, it came up on the results, poison tobacco, poison alcohol. And there it was in black and white on my results, really confirming what I already knew, but there it was in black and white. So, and then what happened after that scan, I didn't immediately give up, but I just started really not resonating with it, and walking into shops and like going to buy a packet of rolling tobacco and thinking, oh, I really don't want to do this anymore, really don't want to do it. And then I'd roll one and I'd smoke it and I'd put it half out, and I was just, you know, the bioresonance was starting to reset me back to where I was before cigarettes came in my life. And that's kind of what it does, right? It cleans and clears you before you have the addictive substance come back into your life. And this is another really important part of what the bioresonance does, because it cleans your mind and thinking and gets you clearly focused on your thinking, was I changed my mindset. Because my mindset for the 20 years on that journey had been, it's difficult to give up smoking. It's impossible. It's difficult, it's hard, it's challenging, it's da-da-da-da-da-da. So all of these beliefs made it difficult and challenging to give up. So I changed my thinking, and I thought, well, one day cigarettes came into my life really easily. Bang, just came in, there they were. So I was like, well, how about they just leave really easily? Like, bang, gone, bye. No cold turkey, no fight with a nicotine monster. You can just leave my life when you're ready. that's what I said to the nicotine and alcohol. You can leave my life when you're ready. Just go. Bye. See you later. Au revoir. Thank you very much. And I had another 2 scan and balances with a bioresonance. And on the third one, it actually came up in capital letters on my results, which was shouting at me like, you've got to give this up. And I tell you what, that was the final shift for me with this bioresonance treatment. And I literally, after that scan, woke up, just didn't want cigarettes, didn't want alcohol, didn't resonate with them anymore. I was in a completely different vibrational frequency to these toxic substances. And they were there, it's still in my life, but I didn't want them. I wasn't resonating with them. And they literally left my life like that. No fights, no struggles, no anything. Now, that was 5 years ago. And I can honestly say in the last 5 years, I've not craved a cigarette once or craved a drink once. I've had a couple of glasses of something here and there, but I get halfway through the glass and I'm just like, oh, I don't really want that. Excuse me. So, yes, it was a success. I set myself up for success and it happened and I achieved it. So that really is my story. That really is my journey. The bioresonance was the key for me. It really was. And I want to be able to help other people with their addictions, as I say, whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, food, toxic relationships, thoughts, work. If you're a workaholic and you can't stop working, you know, that's a problem in itself. You need a balance of everything in life, and this is what the e-Libra scanner and the bioresonance does, is it balances everything out so you can do things in moderation. Now, we do, you know, specific treatment plans to help with addictions, and what we would do is we'd put you on our first setup module, and then afterwards we would probably look at a monthly program for you over a period of 3 to 6 months, where we really cleanse down everything, get everything sorted and get those addictions way out of your life for good, so they don't return, so you don't want them to return. So yes, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any questions, or you've got any comments, please do leave them in the comments below. I'm also going to put my website down there below. You can contact me through my website. There's an email contact form on there. You can request our brochure. Just send us your email. Say, can I have one of your brochures? We'll send one of those out to you. Or if you'd like a, you know, free 10, 15, 20-minute chat with me, just to answer some questions about where you're at in life and how bioresonance therapy might help you, I'll be happy to do that, so contact me for that as well. All right, well, thank you very much for staying with me till the end. Please do support this channel. I'm really going to be doing lots more videos like this. Want to really help share my experiences, share my journey, so it's inspirational to other people to perhaps take some steps on their journey too. So please do give me a thumbs up. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and let's grow this channel together and be part of the family here to bring healing, natural healing solutions to ourselves, to our animals and to our dear Mother Earth. Have a great day. I'll speak to you soon.